Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Just wanted to do another quick pickups video. So it is April 1st. I'm not big into April Fools or anything like that, so I'm just going to do just a regular normal video. But I did pick up just a couple of things to add to some various collections. And I like doing these videos because it's a chance to sort of archive when I added certain things to my collection, because I've had people ask when I got certain items. And there's a lot of them that honestly it all kind of runs together, so it's nice to have something that I can sort of look back on. So we got a few different things here. We got some D&D stuff, I got a comic, a video game, and a package just arrived a little while ago from Paizo, so I'll be opening that here on camera as well. So let's actually go ahead and start with the video game. So I'm a big fan of, Nintendo. I've owned all the home Nintendo systems at one point or another. In fact, the original NES is the only one that I don't have a copy of right now. I'm not talking about handheld systems or the Virtual Boy, but like NES, SNES, N64, GameCube, Wii, Wii U, and now the Switch. The game that I have here is for the Switch, brand new one that just came out, and that is Yoshi's Crafted World. So myself, my fiance, and our daughter, we all love the Yoshi games. They're just, always have a really, just a great aesthetic to them. They're fun. They're great for, for family to sit down and play, together. So this is one or two players. So I play a little bit of this with my daughter, and I play a little bit of this with my fiance. And it's just, again, a really, really great game. The Yoshi games usually have like an interesting aesthetic to them. Like for example, like Yoshi's New Island for the DS had sort of like a pencil or colored pencil sort of styled art to it, whereas the Yoshi's Woolly World for the Wii U, everything was sort of made out of like yarn and hand knitted and stuff like that. So with Yoshi's Crafted World, everything looks like it's sort of set up in like dioramas that you would do, like kids would do in school kind of thing. And it's just got really great attention to detail. So like when you're going through, you can see like the bits of cardboard. Like I don't know how it's going to show up here, but you can actually see like the corrugated cardboard. And if you play a level, when you go through levels, you can eventually unlock the ability to play through them going like the reverse path. And everything's flipped around. So you can actually see like some of the where they've used cardboard to make like buildings or stuff like that. You can actually see like old shipping labels or price tags or just stuff like that just adds this real sense of immersion. But it's a beautiful looking game, and like Yoshi looks like he's made out of felt, and it's just like I said, it's a wonderful game. We've like I said, it's actually currently in our Switch, but again, love the Yoshi games, and as a Nintendo fan, this was an absolute no-brainer. It's so great. All right, up next we have a comic. And this is the latest line of the D&D themed comics. This is A Darkened Wish. So the last line of comics was the Rick and Morty versus Dungeons & Dragons. So this is a brand new storyline. We follow a group of sort of ragtag heroes or adventurer types. And so I got the character sheet cover. I might do that for the rest of the series, but honestly I'm not a huge fan of it overall. But on the front we have like their low-level characters, and this issue in particular follows a group of people basically when they're very young and just starting their adventuring career. So we sort of see how they're like kind of isolated from the wider world and naive and stuff like that. But it does end with the setup for obviously some sort of major conflict. But yeah, so we follow our characters. We sort of see, just see them again, sort of leaving home and entering, the wider world once again. And it's a pretty ragtag group of characters. We have like a Kenku, we have a Dragonborn, we have like a pair of elf twins. Looks like a water genasi, a druid type. And then we have our token, human with like took the variant human, which is the character that's on the cover here. On the back cover, we have their epic character, and they aged the sheet. They have like some like stains and stuff on it, like they've gotten water, or they've set down something on it, which is I guess sort of a neat touch. But we have their epic level, their 20th level version, so you can kind of see all that stuff there, which is again pretty neat. And it'd be interesting to see sort of where the story goes. Because again, it does set up some sort of conflict between characters, but we don't see how that actually happens yet. We just sort of see them all getting to know each other in this first issue. But still a pretty cool story overall. And you know, the IDW D&D comics overall have just been, you know, really good since they've started doing them along the 5th edition lines. All right, up next, I've got a couple of D&D books here. I bought these off of a friend of mine who's looking to downsize his collection. So he actually gave me one of the first cracks at his book, you know, collection of books to purchase from. So he had a pretty decent list, a lot of stuff that I already had, or was all no, I shouldn't say all, but it was either stuff that I had, or it was third party, or it was just stuff that I wasn't particularly interested in. But there were 2 books that immediately jumped out at me. I'll show these off in a second here, but basically, you know, I said, well, I'd like these 2, you know, could you set those aside, and how much do you want for them? And I got a return message back, it's like, well, you know, how about 30? And, you know, it's like 30, like, as in 30 for both, or 30, like, each? And he's like, well, how about 30 for both? And I said that felt a little bit too low, so I offered him a little bit more. I offered him $50. Excuse me. I just got back from spending the weekend at my fiance's parents' place, and they have a cat. The cat allergy type. I'm allergic to cats pretty bad, so allergies are kind of working up on me here. But anyway, so I paid $50 for the 2 books, and basically the way that I split it in my head was 35 and 15. So we'll start with the book that I consider to be, you know, what I would pay $15 for, and that is the 3.0 Psionics Handbook. So I have the expanded Psionics Handbook for 3.5, and this was when I was at HalCon actually back in October. This was the only used D&D book that I saw there at all, aside from like a 3.5 DMG. And they were looking for like $50 for it or something like that. It was 40 or $50, and it was just, or maybe it was even 60. Whatever it was a ridiculously high amount that I would never pay for this book. This is not a great supplement, unfortunately. And 3.0 has a distinction of having like their hardcover books. A lot of them are not great. The Epic Level Handbook was horrible in terms of like balancing or anything, really. It just wasn't. It wasn't a book that I have it, but it's something that I would heavily house rule before I actually implemented. Savage Species was another hardcover book that they put out for it, which was really disappointing as well. And unfortunately, this sort of follows in that trend. So this is, again, just your Psionics book for, you know, 3rd edition D&D. But there are some major issues with it. Number one, the abilities that you get, the psionic abilities, are static. They are always the same, regardless of how high a level you are. So an ability that you manifest as a 1st level power, for example, is something that you will always be the same. So at 1st level, it's as powerful as it's going to be when you're 20th level. So you'd have to basically drop that ability and gain like an updated power, like an updated version of it, or a more powerful version of the ability. But it costs more to do, so it just never, the low level abilities become super obsolete, basically. Now, they did change that in 3.5, and I will do a more thorough video for that at some point in the future. But the other major problem with the Psionics in 3.0 is that they're broken down into psionic disciplines, which is no different than like schools of magic. However, each psionic discipline has an ability score associated with it. So if you take a look here, for example, you've got like dexterity, strength, con, so there's all these things, and those those ability scores that are associated with them dictates what ability modifier you use for determining the DC to overcome the abilities. So it basically means that you pretty much need to avoid anything that you don't have a decent bonus in. Even though the powers may be useful, even though you may want to use them for, you know, because you think that they could help out in a combat situation, if it's just too difficult to be able to use a wide array of abilities, which is unfortunate. It is something that they definitely fixed in 3.5, and like I said, I'll do a comparison video at some point in the future, but again, 3.0 Sonics was kind of a mess. I haven't sat down and thoroughly read through this book again, so I may be remembering certain things incorrectly, but I do remember that you had to sort of have multiple good ability scores to use a diverse set of abilities, so a bit unfortunate there, but we'll just set that aside. So the book that I considered to pay $35 for is a orange-spined version of the AD&D First Edition Player's Handbook. So I'm running First Edition AD&D right now, so I really wanted to have a second copy of the Player's Handbook. And honestly, a copy of the Player's Handbook that I'd rather take with me when I'm going, because I run the games out in public. So I will probably keep my original version of the Player's Handbook home now, and just take this one with me. And I want to do the same with the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Monster Manual. I want to eventually replace the ones that I'm taking with me, which are like the original art styles, and the more textured covers that are easier to get like wear and tear onto, and take these versions. But other than the covers, this is basically the exact same as the original Player's Handbook. And it also means that I now have 2 copies of like the Player's Book or the core books, or the main book, I should say, for every version of D&D, with the exception of a D&D 0 edition. So I've got 1st, 2nd, 3.0, 3.5, 4th, and 5th. I've got multiple copies of like the main like Player's Book that you would use. So the Rule Cyclopedia or Player's Handbook for every numbered edition. So really cool to have that, and it's actually in really nice shape as well for a book that's as old as it is. You know, a little bit of marks on it here and there, but it's nice to have the variant cover of the Player's Handbook. And now I just got to look out for the other 2. All right, and the last thing I'm going to show off here today is a package that I received from Paizo Publishing, and I'll be doing a more comprehensive video for this in the future, but they sent this out to me, so I'm just going to open up the box here sort of off camera. And so this is going to be for the Starfinder role-playing game, which I did get my Starfinder game sort of up and running. And the second session is actually going to be in a couple of weeks. And yeah, so it was a really good time, and I got to use things like the critical hit deck, which I did a separate video for as well. Finally got a chance to use that. So here we've got a whole bunch of packing peanuts. So let's just try not to make a gigantic mess with those. And I think that's the only thing in here with this particular package, so which is great. Well, what we have is the Critical Fumble deck, and I cannot wait to use this. So you had, for the critical hit deck, you had like the Skittermander holding up like the D20 with the 20 side facing. Here you've got the Space Goblin dropping a D20 which shatters with a giant number 1 on it. So I'm going to do a separate video for this, but I'm really looking forward to getting a chance to use this, because the critical hit deck itself, even though we only got to use it a couple of times, was a blast to use. And the players were hoping for that natural 20 because they wanted to draw from the deck. So really cool to have this. And like I said, I'll be doing a separate video for it later in the week. So if you want to see what the cards actually look like, I will have a video for that coming out. So there you go. So that is my most recent pickup. So nothing huge. Like, I don't go out and get massive lots of things like I see some people do videos on. I just get a few things here and there when the opportunity arises. And like I said, I just like to have these as sort of an archive. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys have found some cool stuff in the last few weeks, let me know in the comments below what major or what things you've picked up. It doesn't have to be anything big, just anything that you sort of added to whatever you would like to collect for. So yeah, once again, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.